Hello class, this is the video for Lab 3, Installing Ubuntu. Let's get started. I'm going to download the file. And now, before I start the lab, I'm going to perform this lab in the Horizon environment at PCCC. So I logged into my machine that they have allocated for me over there. For those of you who are going to be using this environment, this video is going to be great for you because I'm going to be doing everything here. For those of you who are going to be using your virtual machine in your own computer, you don't have to worry about anything because the things that are specifically for the Horizon environment I will mention, and I also wrote them down in the lab as well. And no Windows, I don't particularly care about that. So I already downloaded the file, so I'm gonna import it to my Google Drive. Perfect. Okay, let's go over the requirements real quick. Okay, so we say submit in PDF. You will lose 5 points if you don't. Your name must be on top. Format your screenshot accordingly. Every question is worth 20 points. You have 5 questions, total to 100. Now, make sure that you read these notes, please. So, first of all, similar note as the one that we had in the previous lab. Virtualization requires a good computer. If you don't have a good computer, you can use the school environment. For those using Virtualbox, make sure that you have Virtualbox already installed in your system so that you can continue. That means if you did lab number 2, you're good to go for lab number 3. For those using VirtualBox in the college machines, in this environment that I'm using right now, be aware that this environment is slow. So if your internet speed plays a major role here. So just be patient. For those using VirtualBox, I read that already. Read the presentations for this week lecture. So I'm gonna go back in here. Please make sure that before you start the lab, you have already read this, and this. You have already went over these PowerPoints. You wrote your notes. You saw them at least a couple of times because I'm gonna be referencing them a lot. So I'm gonna close it for now. Let's continue over here. For those using VMware Horizon, here are the instructions on how to install the Horizon client. So if you click over here, this is a Confluence page. And it will show you step-by-step instructions on how to install and how to log in to the VMware Horizon environment. So make sure you do that before you start. And the video for this lab can be found here. As you see, there is no link over there because I'm making the video right now. Once I do that, I will update the document. Let's download Ubuntu now because you're going to be needing the ISO file for this lab. So I put the link over here. So we're going to go to the download link. And we're gonna click on download. We're gonna do it now so that meanwhile we do the questions that are not related to the installation, we can, save some time there. Okay, let's take a look over here. It's gonna take about 6 minutes to finish. We don't need that page anymore. Okay. One thing that you will notice is that for this lab, I purposely put every question in its own page so that you can have a space to move around and to format your image as you wish. So let's start with question 1. These are the recommended settings for a PC running Ubuntu. 2 GHz dual-core CPU, 4 GB of RAM, 25 GB of hard disk space, display capable of a 1024 by 768 screen resolution, either a CD or DVD drive or USB drive to do the installation. In this case, that's going to be our ISO file, and our virtual CD-ROM, and internet access so that we can perform updates. Based on these recommendations, you are going to build a virtual machine. Now, you already know how to build a virtual machine. So at this point, I'm going to pause the video, I'm going to build my virtual machine, and then I'm going to get back to it. As you can see, I have already built my virtual machine. I named it Ubuntu 2004. I gave it 4 gigabytes of RAM because this computer has 10 gigabytes of RAM. I suggest you to do the same. 4 gigs is good enough. Um, and the hard disk size was 50 gigabytes, so that's more than the recommended, which is great. So let's go back to the question. Warning: do not give your virtual machine more than half of the available RAM on your computer. Your host VM and your VM and also your host computer, they both need enough RAM and disk space to operate. That means if you have a computer with 8 gigs of RAM and you give your virtual machine 7 gigs of RAM, you're only leaving your regular computer with 1 gigabyte of RAM to operate and do everything, which is, it's ludicrous, it's crazy. So you always be aware, of the balance of your resources. For instance, this computer has 10 gigabytes of RAM, so I gave it 4 gigabytes of RAM, which is just a little bit half, a little bit below half. Half would be 5. So 4 gigs of RAM is great for Ubuntu, and Windows still has 10 gigabytes of RAM to operate. Take a screenshot of your virtual machine settings. So they're asking for a screenshot of this. So I can go here, snipping tool. Okay, change the mode to, actually I'm gonna use rectangular snip because I don't need the entire window. I only need the virtual machine settings, so I only need this area over here. Copy and then paste right over here, and you're done. I don't need it over there, so I'm gonna delete it. But once you paste it over there, you can, resize it if you feel like so, or you can leave it like that. I would rather resize it a little so that everything fits in one page, making it easier for you to review in the future, and also making it easier on me to for grading. Let's go up a little bit. As you can see, it fits in one page, and it's still readable. Perfect. Now let's move along with question number 2. Now, download Ubuntu 2004. You already downloaded, as you can see. It only took about 6 minutes. Canonical will ask you for a donation. Donating is voluntary. So I closed the page, but if you go back in the video, you're gonna see that there is a page over there that asks you for donations. It's up to you if you want to do it. They will give you the ISO file anyway. So open the virtual machine settings, and you're gonna find each and every one of these settings, and you're going to apply them over there. For example, so you're gonna click on settings. This is the general tab. You're gonna do some modifications here. You're also gonna do some modifications here, here, and here. Now, I am not gonna do it in the video because all of that is explained in the slides. So I expect that you go through the presentation and that you go through all of that information. Especially when you are stuck on a particular question, I put the references over here to where that information can be found. Now, I'm gonna pause the video now. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do all of these settings, and then I'm going to get back to you when I get to this point over here because I want to show you that. Okay, so over here in the system section, under the motherboard, I want you to enable EFI. Then when you get to the processor section, make sure that you give your computer 2 processors. This is a dual core. This is a quad core PC, so you'll be fine with that with dual core CPU. You don't have to touch the rest. Then you can continue with the question over here in the system tab under the processor section. Increase the CPU to 2. Then the display tab over here in the display tab. Then you're going to adjust this to 128. Do not enable 3D acceleration. Leave it as is. We don't need it. In the storage section, insert the ISO file into your virtual machine. Now, how do you do that? Go to slide 14 of the presentation, installing Ubuntu 18.04. So we're gonna go here where it says lectures, lecture number 3, and we're gonna open installing Ubuntu in a virtual machine. and we're going to go straight to slide 18, I believe it was 18. No, it was slide number 14. As you can see, you go into the storage section, then you click on empty, then you click on the little disk over here, you go in the file system and you find the location where the ISO file was downloaded to. 90% of the time, almost every time, unless you change that, it's going to be the downloads directory. Once you do that, you just have to do is click OK. Now I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go here, gonna go to storage, empty, click on the disk, choose a file, go to downloads, click on Ubuntu. You see this is the ISO file. See, disk image file. Click on open, click OK. Let's go back here. Save your virtual machine settings. Start your virtual machine and select the Ubuntu ISO file to boot from. Slide 18 of the presentation shows you how to do that. So we're going to go back here to slide 18 to take a look at it before we do it. Slide 18. Talking about slide 17 there. There you go. That needs to be adjusted. This is slide 17. Let me adjust that in the master file real quick. Perfect. So as you can see over here, once you turn on the virtual machine, you have to select the ISO file that you're booting from, then click Start. So we're going to do that. We have the virtual machine selected. We're going to click on Start. Since that's the only file that we have, since that's the only ISO file that we have, it's only gonna appear one, and it's gonna appear for you over there by default. So you can just click Start, and the virtual machine will start. Now let's go back over here real quick and see what screenshot do we need to take. Take a screenshot of your virtual machine during the boot process or during the installation media check, whichever you choose. I don't particularly care. So the boot process already went by, so I'm gonna take a screenshot of the media check. This is the window that I'm referring to. So I'm gonna click over here in the snipping tool one more time. I'm gonna change the mode to Windows snip because I want the whole thing, and I'm gonna click on New. Click on the virtual machine and copy. Then all I have to do here is paste it over here. And that question has been answered. Okay, now we're gonna go to question number 3, and it says, at the installation welcome screen, click Try Ubuntu. So we're going to load the live environment. Okay, so I'm gonna wait for that to finish, and then I'll get back to you. I will pause the video for now. Okay, we're back. Now let's click on Try Ubuntu. Okay, this is Ubuntu's live environment, and let's go back now to the lab to see what it is required from us. Once the live environment is ready to use, press the Windows key or click on the launcher or the activities, both located at different ends of the favorites bar. See slide 9 and slide 10 of the desktop environments. So if I go back here and I go in desktop environments, this presentation, and it's telling us that the information that we're looking for is explained in slide 9 and 10. So we're going to go to slide 9, and as you can see over here, this is the activities button, right? And this is the favorites bar. So I can either click here to see all my apps, or I can press the Windows key, similar to how you do it on your Windows, and it will bring the launcher. You can also click on activities at the top. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to type terminal. Terminal applications open, and one click opens the application. Let's go back to the lab real quick. Search and open the terminal application by typing terminal. In the terminal, type the following commands. We're going to use uname -a and lsb underscore release -a. Both of these commands are very useful to finding out information about our system. So we're going to go back in here, and in the terminal, we're going to type uname -a. And then lsb underscore release -a. Notice that there is a space before the -a and lsb release. Also, Linux is case sensitive. So the commands that you type on the terminal have case sensitivity on. If you type the same command uppercase, it does not work. It's not like Windows. Keep that in mind. Let's press enter over here, and we're done. Take a screenshot of your virtual machine showing the virtual machine name on top. Okay, so now let's take a screenshot of the virtual machine. Notice that this is the name of the virtual machine. Let's click on new one more time. Click on the VM. Copy. Let's go back to our lab. And let's paste it over here. There you go. Done. Okay, let's move along with question number 4. Start the ubiquity, what a weird name Canonical chose for the installer, Ubuntu installer, from the desktop icon. It's called Install Ubuntu 2004 LTS. So let's go back in here. We don't need the terminal open anymore, so we're going to close it. And we're going to start the installer by double clicking. Okay. Now it says use the presentation installing Ubuntu 18.04 as a reference for installing Ubuntu. Now we're gonna go back to lecture 3, and we're gonna click on installing Ubuntu in a virtual machine. This presentation is a step-by-step tutorial on installing Ubuntu on a virtual machine. Go over it slide by slide, and then come back to the lab to perform the installation. Obviously, if you already seen the presentation, and we did it, the last class, you don't have to keep coming back and forth because it is very straightforward. But still, you want to know what you're doing. So this is the install screen. So I'm gonna click on English. English already selected. So I'm gonna click on continue. Let me make sure I have this back here. And in the install updates and other software sections, you gotta be aware of when you get there, you have to enable third-party software and you have to choose normal installation. In the installation type, we're gonna erase the disk, and in the who are you section, we are gonna input there the information that we placed in question number 2. Remember over here in question number 2, specifically question number 2, 3b, this is the information that we're going to use in that step. So we're gonna go back in here in question, back in here, and let's continue over here. Yes, my keyboard layout is English and is US English. See, updates and software. We're going to install third-party software, and we're gonna click on continue. Okay, here we're gonna click erase disk and install Ubuntu. So let's click on install now. Continue. Now in this section over here, we're gonna open the machine and click on settings. And if you go to general and you go to description, this is the information that you inputted before. So for the name, for the host name, the name of the computer, we're gonna use CIS106 F20. For the username, we are gonna use our Blackboard username, and for the password, well, you make one password. Just make one password that you won't forget, but you're gonna have it written down over here anyway. So I'm gonna click on OK here, and my name is, let's say that my name is John Smith, and the computer name will be J. I'm assuming that JSmith89 will be my Blackboard username, assuming there are a lot of 89, John Smiths over there. And then the username will be, oh, sorry, that's the name of the computer, CIS106 Fall 20. And then the username will be JSmith89. Now let's select the password. I'm just gonna use 123 for mine, since this is a demonstration only. Make sure that you click on require my password to log in. This is very important. Don't use login automatically, because we are going to be using multiple desktop environments, and this makes our life easier along the road. Let's click on continue. Let's go back into our lab and see. Okay, once the installation has started, take a screenshot of the virtual machine. Alternatively, you can take a screenshot of the reboot message after the installation or the wizard after the installation, or the welcome wizard after you log in for the first time. Wow, I'm forgetting the words today. What's wrong with me? Your screenshot must show. It's a type over there. Let's fix it in master as well. Your screenshot must show the virtual machine border. So what we're going to do here, we're going to go to the virtual machine. We can take a screenshot of this. This is one option that we have, and then we'll be done. So we're going to click on new, click over here, copy, paste it over here, and we're done. Now, since I am doing this in the Horizon environment, this is gonna take a long time. The last time that I did it, I estimated about 35 minutes, which is almost triple the time that it takes on a regular computer. So what I'm going to do is that I'm gonna pause the video, and I'm gonna get back at recording it when the installation is done. Now, you are home, go get some coffee, play with your dog if you have one, or play a match of Call of Duty. Okay, so this over here is the next screen that you can take a picture of. Now I'm going to restart Ubuntu because I'm done with the installation, and I already took a picture of the other screenshot. So if we go here to there you go, question 4. We already did this one, so we're going to start with question 5. So the first step is to reboot this computer. So let's click on restart now and wait until the computer comes back on. Okay, my computer has rebooted. Now I can log in. Click to John Smith. Type the password 123. Once you log into Ubuntu, you are presented with a welcome wizard that allows you to connect your. The first thing is connect your online accounts. Now, if you want to connect your Google account to your Ubuntu installation, you can do that. For example, I'm gonna select Google on mine. type in my email address. Then my password. To FA. Security alert. Perfect. Now I can set up live patch, which will allow me to apply, kernel specific updates without needing to restart my computer. I will not enable this right now because this requires me to set up an Ubuntu One account, and I don't want to do that. So I'm gonna click on next on that. Help improve Ubuntu. No, I don't want to send system information. Thank you very much, but nice. Thank you for asking. Allow applications to determine your geographical location. Thank you for leaving it off by default. And you are ready to go. Now you can install applications if you want by clicking open software now, but we're not going to do that. We are going to do things differently. So here you can click on done, and we are not going to update the system yet, so we are going to close this for now. Okay, so go to slide 36 of installing Ubuntu 18.04 on your VirtualBox to learn how to take snapshots of your virtual machine. Okay, now I need to turn the computer off because I didn't do the instruction one completely. It says once the computer rebooted, turn it off. So I'm gonna go back in here and I'm gonna click on the on off button in the corner and I'm gonna click power off, power off. Yes, power off. Meanwhile the computer powers off, let's go to slide number 36 of installing Ubuntu in VirtualBox. And it says slide number 36, so I'm gonna click on here, go to slide 36. This is going to teach you how to take a snapshot, and a snapshot is a point in time of your virtual machine. So you save that particular point in time and you can revert back to it whenever you want. So with virtual machines, it's always good to have snapshots because if something goes wrong, you can always go back to the state of the virtual machine when everything was fine. So in this step, we're going to take, I believe it's 3 snapshots. One after we completed the installation, another one after we do the update. No, I think it's only 2. That one and the one that we do after we complete the update. Allow me to see. So, yep. yeah, we're gonna take two snapshots of this virtual machine. What I recommend my students to do is always keep one snapshot of the previous lab that you completed, so that if anything goes wrong with the next lab that you do, you can always go back to the previous state that your machine was. Don't keep a lot of snapshots of your virtual machine. I normally only keep two. So let's go back in here. We can close that and open it later. Our virtual machine is off, so I'm gonna click on the menu over here, snapshots, and I'm gonna click on take. I'm gonna name this one. The name is over here, and it says base install, no updates. There you go, and we got a description over here. This is a snapshot of the installation only, no updates were applied, and maybe you can add the date or whatever other detail you want. Click update, and this is the current state of your machine. So I can click on start, and it's gonna start on that particular snapshot. So I'm gonna let the computer turn on, and I'll get back to you once it boots to the desktop environment. Okay, now we're gonna continue over here with step number 5. Go to slide 33 of installing Ubuntu, slide 33, to learn how to update Ubuntu. So if you input this command on the terminal, you update your system. So let's do that. Let's go back into our VM, click on the menu. You can also click Ctrl Alt and T in the keyboard as a shortcut. Now here I'm gonna do sudo apt update first, a colon, so that I can type another command, sudo apt upgrade. I'm gonna give it the -y flag or the -y flag for auto respond yes to any prompt, colon again, so that it can run another command right after you finish that one. And we can do sudo apt full upgrade. Also give it a flag y, so that now let's type my password 123. As you can see, nothing appears on the screen, and that's a security measure so that people that are behind you don't see the size of your password. It's not that you are not typing, you are typing, it's just that it is hidden by default. Now that's gonna take a while. Go get yourself another coffee. Okay, my system has been updated. Now I can continue with the lab. Once your update is done, reboot your system. So I'm gonna go back here, and I'm gonna show you how to reboot your system from the command line. So you can either do reboot, and that will work, or you can do telnet 6, whichever of the two. Reboot or telnet 6. Okay, this is gonna take a little bit. Okay, my computer is back online. Let's log in. And here it says, once the machine comes back online again, install the guest additions. See slide 35 of the presentation. I have to modify that slide, so at the moment that slide is empty. But there you're gonna find a video on how to do what I'm gonna show you right now. So to install the guest additions, here is another virtual machine that I have. All you have to do is click on Devices, insert guest additions CD image, then click on Run. This will allow you to, you know, use the full screen of your computer in your virtual machine. It will allow you to drag and drop files to your virtual machines and do a lot of other stuff as well. This is important that you install it in your system. Otherwise, you won't be able to use full screen. Your resolution is gonna be very bad, and more importantly, you won't be able to use clipboard sharing or drag and dropping. That's it. Installation is done. Click enter to exit, and now let's restart. Now, in the video that I will make, that you're gonna have in that slide, is gonna have two ways of installing the guest additions, from the command line and also graphically. The fastest way to do it is graphically, but it's also good to know how to do it on the command line, just in case you want to write a script to automate everything that we did today. Okay, now and I bet you I typed the password wrong. Now I can use full screen on my virtual machine if I want, and if I have a file on my local computer, I can drag and drop it to my virtual machine with no problem. Okay, I'll troubleshoot that some other time later, but normally after you install your guest additions, you're able to use all those features. The one that I like the most is the fact that I can use full screen. I don't care much about drag and dropping in my personal setup, because when I am inside the virtual machine, I normally do everything that I need to do on the VM. But I know that a lot of students like to have the functionality of just sharing, here and there. So, it's good that you install that, and it's part of your lab as well. Let me see if this is done so that I can show you what I mean. Okay, so in our environment, I am not able to go full screen here because of that, because it doesn't have the guest additions installed. So let's continue over here. Turn off your virtual machine and take another snapshot and name it base install update is done. Okay, so I want to install it over here as well. So I'm gonna go to devices, insert guest additions to the image, and the prompt will appear real quick. Click on run, type my password. Okay, we're almost done, and take a screenshot of your virtual machine manager showing the snapshots. Okay, so we're gonna do that as soon as this is done. There you go. Now, I don't need to restart in order for me to use full screen. Automatically, the guest additions will start working right away. I just consider it's best practice for me to restart the computer. Now, I'm going to proceed into creating my snapshot. So I'm gonna shut this computer off, and I'm gonna do it with telling it and then the argument of 0. This tells the computer put it in run level 0, which is shut down, and the virtual machine is off. Now I'm going to go back into my VM, and now to create another snapshot, I make sure that I am in the snapshot section, the menu here, snapshot. Then I'm gonna click on take, and I'm gonna call this one, I have the name right over here, base installed, update is done, guest addition is installed. And click OK. And you're set. Now you can revert back between these two states. Either you can go back here if you want, or you can stay at the current state. You choose. If in the next lab something goes wrong, you can revert back to the original state. Now, after you take a screenshot of this, which is, this is what I need. No, this is what I need over here, and I'm pretty sure that I require another screenshot. Yeah, there was another step that required a screenshot here, and it was after you did the installation, the updates. You had to take a screenshot of the updates, and you also have to take a screenshot of this one over here and put both of the screenshots over there. Each screenshot is worth 10 points. Now, after you've done that, if you are in the same environment that I am, in the Horizon environment, you don't want to go through this process every time you want to have a Linux machine ready. It would make sense for you to save all this work so that you can, go back to it as fast as you can. But the problem is that the Horizon environment resets every time you log off. It's done that way so that we can have, a faster system, because everybody that is starting from home right now has access to the Horizon environment so that they can do their work. That requires an intensive amount of CPU power. So having computers that are not like this one, that are, for example, static, meaning you can use them and save files to it, you know, opens a whole can of worms of problems, and a lot of kind of performance issues. So that's why it's set this way. Now, to go around this limitation, you can export your virtual machine, save it on the cloud, and every time you need it, just download it. For instance, to do that, and for everybody else that's not using this environment, if you want, to have a portable virtual machine for you to just use whenever you want and whatever you want, so that you don't have to build a machine from scratch every time that you want to create an Ubuntu machine, you can follow this process as well. So what we're going to do is that, and I'm not gonna do this over here, I'd rather do it on my local Virtualbox environment, because it's gonna be faster, but it's gonna work the same way. So let's go back here and VirtualBox. So I'm going to export this Ubuntu machine that I have over here. Actually, I'm going to export this one, and so I'm gonna shut it off. Okay, now I'm gonna click on File, Export Appliance, click the virtual machine that I want to export, which is Lab 3 Installing Ubuntu. Click on Next. I always select the virtualization format 2.0. You can leave that as is, but make a mental note of where you save that OBA file, because that is the file that you're going to upload to the cloud or to your Google Drive. You can keep on include only NAT networks. You can keep it like that, or you can select a stripped all network adapter or MAC addresses. In our case, you can choose either or. But there are instances where you don't want to do that. You would rather have a virtual machine with no network card and then add a network card after you imported it. In our case, you can leave it like that. It wouldn't make any difference. I never include the ISO image. I don't need it. There is no point of that. I can always download that from the internet. And yes, I want to write a manifest file, which is this file over here. Normally, I will add information, but I I don't need to write any information now, and you don't either. So I'm gonna click on export. This is gonna take a little bit, especially if you're gonna do it in the Horizon environment. This is gonna take a little bit. So why don't we, for the sake of practice, do it here as well. Click on next. 2.0, leave everything the same, and this is gonna be saved in documents OBA 2004. So click on next, click on export. Okay, now I'm gonna wait until that's done, and then I'm gonna get back to the video. The video is gonna be paused for a moment. Okay, so my local machine has already finished exporting the virtual machine. So what I'm going to do is that I am going to open Google Drive. for that particular email address that I logged in over there, and that will be this one over here. Let's bring this over here, and we're gonna click on new file upload, and I think I put it in documents right there, Ubuntu OVA, and it's 4 gigabytes long. So I'm gonna click on open. Uh, we can also compress that file so that it takes less space, and then uncompress it when we download it. Uh, Let me see if the virtual machine that you guys will have access to in the Horizon client has any compression utilities installed there other than zip. Zip is not gonna do much. Oh, it has 7-zip, so great. We can compress it with 7-zip and see if we can save some space, because it's also gonna be faster to upload if we compress the file. So that's the file that we're gonna compress. That's the OVA file, and we're waiting 1 minute and 33 seconds for this to finish. In the meantime, we can go to here, documents, and in my local machine we can see if create archive, and we want, I don't have 7-zip installed. I have not installed 7-zip. Okay, so I'm just gonna choose XZ, create, and let's install 7-zip real quick. As a matter of fact, let me install all the other utilities that I have not installed in this computer yet. Hmm. There you go, my keyboard got disconnected for a second. Okay, so we're gonna do install rar on rar as well, why not? Let's do P7, yeah, P7 zip, I think it is. P7 zip full. Yep, and then P7 zip rar. There you go, perfecto. There you go. Let's also create a 7-zip archive. Have these two operations working in the background, and let's see how our Horizon client, there you go. Here we finished already, so we're gonna do the same thing here. This I am going to compress it with 7-zip. And compress, add to archive. Yes, compression level, ultra, and click OK. That's gonna take a little bit to work. In the meantime, I am going to upload to my drive. Let's go here, Google Drive, the file that is uncompressed. So this over here was the dev file that we just uploaded. It finished uploading a couple of minutes ago. So I'm gonna click on it. And I wanna download this file. It's only 4 gigs, so it should take about 5 to 6 minutes. Download anyway. Also, if you're running out of space on your Google Drive, you can just open a new account. Every account has 15 gigabytes of free space to use in the Google Drive, so yeah, it's going pretty fast, so it shouldn't take long. Now, this virtual machine was created in a Linux system. It was not created on a Windows system, but that is irrelevant because since we were using VirtualBox, VirtualBox is available in both operating systems. It will be consistent overall. So once this is done, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to import that virtual machine over here to show you. Oh my God, not there. Over here to show you how that works. In the meantime, I'm gonna revert back to details. Gonna keep that there. See how the compression is going. Compression ratio 97%. That's actually pretty good. .509, 514. Okay, I'm gonna pause the video and I'll get back when that is done. Okay, the file has completed downloading, so let's minimize this. Minimize this. Let's click on File, Import Appliance. Let's click on this little folder in the corner. Downloads, Lab 3. This is the file we downloaded from the internet. Then click on Open. Next. You can keep all of that the exact same way it is and import. Okay, the virtual machine is almost done importing. 99%. And done. Let's turn it on and take a look. Let's see how the compression is going. Wow, that's taking its sweet time. Okay, Windows. And there you go. Now, don't forget to save your file as a PDF once you have completed, and don't forget to submit it as PDF. If you have any questions, don't forget to, reach out to me in a Slack, and I'll be happy to help. I'll see you during class.